Welcome to the Clinical Pen. Subscribe and visit clinicalpen.com. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something pretty fundamental for health. How do your nutritional needs actually change through life? Specifically for women, decade by decade?
That's right. Yeah, we've been looking at this article that really maps out the key foods and nutrients for women at different stages.
Yeah.
From the 20s right through the 50s and beyond. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all deal.
And our mission here with this deep dive is to pull out those crucial insights, not just like a shopping list, but understanding why these changes matter and how tailoring what you eat can really impact your health, your energy, maybe even help prevent disease later on.
Exactly. And for you listening, this isn't about strict rules. It's more about empowerment, right? Knowing this stuff helps you make choices that support your body where it's at now.
Yeah.
And build resilience for the future.
Feeling your best, basically, now and down the road.
That's the goal. Feeling good.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where do we kick things off? The 20s, I guess.
Yeah, let's start there. The article really highlights the 20s as super critical for laying that groundwork for future health.
Even if you feel kind of invincible then.
Especially then. You might feel great, tons of energy, but the choices you make nutritionally then, they have this ripple effect like decades later.
So it's an investment, not just fuel for today.
Precisely. And a huge focus in the 20s. Bone health. It's often the last real chance to significantly boost your bone density.
Ah, okay. So calcium is key.
Absolutely paramount. Getting enough now seriously cuts down your risk of osteoporosis later. Think, leafy greens, almonds, yogurt, milk, fortified plant milks.
Building that bone bank. Got it. What about energy? The 20s can be pretty demanding.
Right, and that's where iron comes in. Big time.
Why specifically iron?
Well, mainly due to menstrual cycles, women in their 20s are more prone to iron deficiency. And that leads to fatigue, can even mess with focus.
Okay, so what helps there?
The source points to things like lean red meat, lentils, tofu, spinach, fortified cereals. Getting enough is really key for steady energy and just feeling sharp.
Keep the engine running smoothly. And I think the article mentioned something for stress and brain health, too.
It did, yeah. Omega-3 fatty acids. Super important for reducing inflammation, supporting brain function, which is, let's face it, really helpful during those often stressful 20s.
Makes sense. What are good sources?
Fatty fish is great, like salmon, walnuts, flax seeds too. Excellent stuff.
Less inflammation, better focus. Sounds good. And what if someone's thinking about pregnancy?
Then folate, or vitamin B9, is absolutely critical. Essential if you're planning a pregnancy. It helps prevent certain birth defects, supports reproductive health overall.
Where do you find folate?
Beans, citrus fruits, avocados, those leafy greens again.
Yeah.
Good to get them in regularly.
Okay. So the takeaway for the 20s seems to be proactive. Build those reserves like bone density, support your energy, set the stage.
Exactly. Your choices then really do set you up for the future.
All right, let's move into the 30s. Often a time of, increased responsibilities, maybe families, careers taking off. How do nutritional needs shift then?
Yeah, the source describes the 30s as often, busy, transitional, needing sustained energy and maybe focusing a bit more on hormonal balance.
Sustained energy is definitely needed then.
That's where whole grains really shine. Things like brown rice, quinoa, oats, to give you that steady energy release, help keep blood sugar stable, good for digestion too.
So avoiding those afternoon energy crashes.
Precisely. Crucial when you're juggling everything. And to help the body handle that pressure.
What else?
Antioxidant-rich fruits and veggies become even more important. The article mentions colorful ones, berries, carrots, bell peppers, broccoli.
Why those specifically?
They help fight off cellular damage from things called free radicals. Basically, they reduce inflammation, support resilience, maybe even help slow down some signs of aging internally.
Okay. Fueling up and fighting stress from the inside. What about strength, especially if life is hectic or maybe post-pregnancy?
Protein. It becomes increasingly vital. For maintaining muscle mass especially, the source recommends including things like eggs, poultry, beans, lentils, Greek yogurt regularly. Helps with muscle health, feeling full too.
Right. Muscle maintenance starts earlier than you might think.
It really does. And vitamin D stays crucial for your immune system for mood regulation.
Yeah, where do we get that?
Fortified milk, mushrooms, fatty fish are good bets. Especially important if your busy life means you're not getting a ton of sun exposure.
Yeah, that's common. So the key insight for the 30s is optimizing nutrition to handle the pace, support energy, keep things balanced internally.
Right. Good fuel helps you thrive when life gets demanding.
Okay, shifting gears again. Into the 40s, this is often when, well, hormonal changes like perimenopause start creeping in for many women.
The article really emphasizes managing those hormonal shifts in the 40s, and prioritizing heart health becomes a major focus. Metabolism might start changing, hormones fluctuate, impacting mood, energy.
So what nutrients does the source highlight to kind of ease that transition?
Fiber. Fiber is absolutely key here. Upping your intake through whole grains, legumes, fruits, vegetables. It helps manage cholesterol, keeps digestion regular, and it's fundamental for heart health.
Okay, fiber doing double duty gut and heart. And wasn't there a mineral mentioned for PMS or anxiety?
Yes, magnesium. The source points out it gets even more important in the 40s. It can potentially help ease PMS symptoms, improve sleep, help manage stress and anxiety.
Where do we find magnesium?
Good sources are nuts, seeds, leafy greens, even a little dark chocolate.
Nice. Supporting mood and sleep with food. Powerful. What about fats? Are they good or bad here?
Healthy fats are vital. Definitely your allies. Things like avocados, olive oil, fatty fish again, chia seeds, walnuts. They help combat inflammation, support hormonal balance, good for skin, brain health too.
So embrace the healthy fats. What should you maybe pull back on?
Yeah, the source strongly advises limiting processed foods, added sugars, and those refined carbs. They can contribute to weight gain, blood sugar spikes, things the body might handle less efficiently as hormones shift.
Makes sense. So the core insight for the 40s seems to be using nutrition strategically to smooth out hormonal changes and really protect heart health long term.
Exactly. Your food choices can make a huge difference during this stage and set you up better for later.
And finally, let's talk about the 50s and beyond. This is where, concerns about bone density, muscle loss, they can really come to the forefront, especially after menopause.
Absolutely. This stage is really about preserving strength, protecting those bones, and just supporting overall vitality for the long haul. The risks for osteoporosis, heart disease, age-related muscle loss, they definitely increase after menopause.
So those bone-building nutrients from the 20s,
Right.
they make a big comeback.
They do, even more critical now. Calcium and vitamin D are absolutely essential for maintaining bone density. The source highlights dairy, fortified plant milks, and even things like canned sardines or salmon with the bones.
Right, those edible bones are packed with calcium. Sardines might be an acquired taste, though.
Maybe, but effective. And protein becomes paramount. Seriously important to prevent muscle breakdown that's called sarcopenia.
So, how much protein?
The article suggests making it a priority in basically every meal. Tofu, fish, lean meats, eggs, beans. Older adults might actually need slightly more protein than when they were younger.
Interesting. Getting it consistently throughout the day.
Yep. And continuing with those colorful, antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables is still essential. Protects heart health, brain health, reduces inflammation. Think berries, tomatoes, leafy greens, citrus.
Keeping the heart and brain sharp. And you mentioned hydration earlier.
Crucially important. It's often overlooked, but staying hydrated is vital. Prevents fatigue, headaches, even confusion sometimes in older adults. Water is obviously key, but watery foods like cucumbers, watermelon, oranges help too.
Such a simple thing, but easy to forget. Did the source mention anything specific for lingering menopause symptoms?
It did touch on phytoestrogens. These are plant compounds that can sort of weakly interact with estrogen receptors.
Like what foods?
Things like flax seeds or soy products, edamame, tempeh. The idea is they may potentially help reduce some mild symptoms like hot flashes. Not a magic bullet, but possibly supportive.
Okay, interesting. So the takeaway for the 50s and beyond, it's really focused nutritional maintenance, protecting bones and muscle, supporting overall vitality.
Exactly. Targeted nutrition is just indispensable for maintaining strength, bone health, and your quality of life as you age.
So stepping back now, looking across all these decades, the needs definitely evolve, but is there an underlying constant?
Yeah, what's really interesting is the consistent message woven through the source material. While specific nutrient needs change, the foundation is always building your diet around whole, nutrient-dense foods. That's the bedrock, always.
Right, and then you kind of tweak the focus based on what your body needs most in that decade.
Precisely. Tailoring your diet, that's the key takeaway. For hormonal balance, for energy, and for significantly reducing the risk of chronic issues like heart disease or osteoporosis.
So it's not a static plan, but something that adapts with you.
It really is a dynamic, lifelong approach to wellness.
This deep dive has really shed light on how nutrition is this evolving foundation for women's health, changing stage by stage, all based on what the source material lays out.
Yeah, we've seen those specific shifts, building reserves in the 20s, managing transitions in the 40s, preserving vitality later on.
We really encourage you listening to think about your own current decade. Maybe consider one or two of those nutritional focuses we talked about from the source. Could you be more mindful of them this week?
And that leads to a final thought for you to ponder. If tailoring nutrition by decade is so crucial for physical things like bone density or heart health, what other areas of your well-being might also benefit from that kind of decade-specific attention? Think about mental clarity or emotional resilience, maybe even just your day-to-day energy levels.
Something powerful to consider. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.